Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Bruce Frisco. Todd Battis is off tonight. It is Wednesday, the 29th of October. This is CTV News. Tonight, a life sentence. A judge hands down a decision nearly a decade after a murder. A growing wait list. New Brunswickers seeing primary care provider increases nearly 10,000.
Rainy and windy. It's not the ideal Halloween forecast this year, but I'll go over it in detail just ahead.
Live from our Maritimes News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Bruce Frisco.
Good evening. Friends and family of the Sullivan children are gathering shortly for what is expected to be a poignant vigil for the missing children who've been gone for almost 6 months. It is happening at an important milestone. CTV's Hafsa Arif has been covering the story for us since pretty much the beginning. She joins us now live from Stellarton. Hafsa.
Hey Bruce, I'm standing outside the Stellarton RCMP detachment, which has been a gathering point of heartbreak and unanswered questions. In just an hour, people from across Nova Scotia will be gathering here at this memorial for a vigil, which will mark roughly 6 months since the children went missing and what is Jack's for a 5th birthday today. Now, Jack and 6-year-old Lily were reported missing on May 2nd from their home in Lansdowne Station. Since then, the search has been one of the largest in recent memory. It included hundreds of police and volunteers combing through 8.5 square kilometers of dense woods near the family's home. Last month, RCMP brought cadaver dogs covering more than 40 kilometers of rugged terrain, but police say no human remains were found. In August, released court documents show investigators found 2 pieces of a pink blanket believed to belong to Lily, one in the woods, another in a trash bag at the end of the family's driveway. Officers have conducted at least 4 polygraph tests, reviewed more than 8,000 video files, and followed up on nearly 1,000 public tips. Police continue to treat this as a missing persons case. Now tonight, as candles are lit, the message is clear here, which has been for the last 6 months, which is hope. Hope the children, both Jack and Lily, are found, and hope that answers are found by the end of all of this. Bruce?
The sentiment echoed right across the country. Thank you, Hafsa. CTV's Hafsa Arif reporting live tonight from Stellarton, and we'll have more on tonight's vigil on CTV News at 11:30. It has taken nearly a decade, but a man has been sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole for 12 years after he admitted to killing one man and shooting another in Halifax in 2016. Terrell Deschamps heard the judge's ruling, and friends and family of the victim listened in the courtroom today. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness has more.
As they left the courtroom in Halifax today, family and friends of Naricho Clayton are relieved.
Words can't explain how I feel, the loss of my son. But I know he's with me each and every day. I have his son. He looks just like him. I love him.
Clayton was gunned down in a car on Gottingen Street in Halifax in 2016. Another man, Ricardo Winder, was wounded but survived. Tyrell Deschamps was arrested in December 2017 and charged with second-degree murder and attempted murder. Rescheduled for 2022, the trial was again delayed when Deschamps fired his lawyer. Then, last month, as the case was finally ready to move forward, Deschamps surprisingly pleaded guilty to both charges.
Almost 10 years, and now we're just now receiving a verdict. It's reopened a lot of wounds for us, re-traumatized us a lot.
Clayton's sister, Natavia Gray, read a victim impact statement to the court written by the family.
Today has been a very heavy day for me and my family. Today is the day that we receive some sort of justice for our brother Naricho.
Deschamps listened quietly via video conference from a prison in Quebec, where he's already serving a life sentence for the first-degree murder of former basketball star Tyler Richards, who he killed 2 days before the Clayton and Winder shooting. First-degree murder carries an automatic life sentence with no chance of parole for 25 years.
Right now, separation from society, protecting public is of paramount importance when someone shows that level of dangerousness.
In his parole ineligibility ruling, the judge accepted the joint recommendation of the Crown and the defense of 12 years for each charge to be served concurrently. When asked if he had any comment, Deschamps did apologize for the hurt he caused Clayton's family. Justice Campbell commented on Eleanor Gray's victim impact statement, saying it didn't include hatred or call for vengeance, adding he hoped Tyrell Deschamps learned something from what he heard. Jonathan McGinnis, CTV News, Halifax.
A Halifax police officer is facing charges for allegedly selling stolen goods. Nova Scotia's Serious Incident Response Team says it received a referral from Halifax Police back in September regarding allegations related to the sale of stolen property, including bicycles. CERT says Constable Fallon Clark was charged today with breach of trust and possession of stolen property valued at more than $5,000. He has been suspended with pay and is set to appear in provincial court on November the 27th. Just a reminder, for more on that story or anything you're seeing here tonight, feel free to visit us online, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. It is your home for news. The list of people waiting for a family doctor or nurse practitioner in New Brunswick has grown. The news comes despite efforts to recruit more doctors and create so-called care teams. CTV's Laura Brown breaks down the reasons.
These clinics where physicians and nurse practitioners, perhaps a dietitian or physiotherapist, all work together as a team, have been announced across the province, 7 of them so far, with another 3 promised by year's end. They're supposed to be connecting people to primary care, but according to New Brunswick's registry of those without a doctor or nurse practitioner known as MB Health Link, there were 114,743 waiting in March, and that grew to 124,045 by September.
There's a few reasons for that. Number one is doctors could be retiring. Number two, however, this is what I like to think it is that we're telling patients that aren't connected currently, if you want to be pulled off that list, you have to be with HealthLink. So many patients that previously had not registered with HealthLink are now registering.
The health minister also said the province's population grew by 10,000 over the last 12 months. He says the clinics are working.
Horizon tells us 8,700 people have been pulled off.
The opposition has questioned just how many of the clinics are new.
Fredericton, this one was an expansion, not a new clinic, which is expected to take on another 1,600 patients with no timeline given.
But the province has gained doctors. Vitalite Health Network has reported 50 have been recruited since January 1st and 15 have left. They're having success finding doctors just next door. An advertising campaign is underway in Quebec. And the health authority confirmed to CTV that there's been an uptick in expressions of interest from doctors there. All 3 political parties agree there's nothing wrong with trying to recruit from another province.
We should be recruiting in every province and in the United States, particularly now when so many people are unhappy with what's happening politically in America.
And Bruce, Susan Holt has promised another 10 of these team-based care clinics will open next year, and their goal is to see 81% of all New Brunswickers connected to a nurse practitioner or a doctor in 2026. Bruce.
All right, thank you, Laura. CTV's Laura Brown reporting from Fredericton tonight. Okay, here's a live look at Lunenburg, where it's currently 12 degrees. Really pretty out there on this Wednesday evening. I think that's the first sunshine I've seen today, because we haven't seen a lot of it around Halifax today.
Yeah, it was a pretty cloudy day for parts of the region, though we didn't see a lot of wet weather around the Maritimes. It remains with cloudy periods for tonight, but a lot of the focus and a lot of the talk, of course, on that Friday, on that Halloween forecast, and it's still looking quite wet and windy for the Maritimes. We have special weather statements in effect now for all 3 maritime provinces. In those statements, Environment Canada cautioning that there could be some rainfall totals of 30 to, in some cases, in excess of 50 millimeters. Some of that rain coming in the form of some downpours. It's very gusty winds out of the southeast. Some of the peak gusts between 50 and 80 kilometers per hour, especially around parts of the coastline that are exposed to an an easterly direction and higher terrain. And an exception to those wind gusts will be northern Inverness County in Cape Breton, where there will actually be some enhancement over the Cape Breton highlands. And there, so northern Inverness County, Cape Breton, there could be some peak wind gusts 80 to 110 kilometers per hour on Friday. This is because of the low pressure system and weather fronts making their way out of the eastern United States. But there is some influence from Hurricane Melissa as it moves towards the north. It brings up a lot of moisture with it. Some of that moisture is going to be kind of drawn up and along that weather front, and it really increases the potential of us seeing heavy rain and downpours in the region. So here's how this is expected to play out on Friday. Already early in the morning, there will be some rain around western areas of New Brunswick and the southwest of Nova Scotia. From the morning into the afternoon, it basically turns rainy and windy across the entirety of the Maritimes. Early afternoon, highest risk of downpours across the west of Nova Scotia and in southwestern areas of New Brunswick. By the time we get into the start of the evening, your typical beginning of trick-or-treating, there is a chance that the heaviest of the rain may have cleared western and southern areas of New Brunswick as well as western Nova Scotia, but likely to still be coming down, even heavy at times, around northern areas of New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia, including Cape Breton. And even those areas that get out of that heavier rain, could be some patchy drizzle and lighter rain around through the evening hours, Bruce.
All right, thank you, Kalen. Full forecast coming up in about 15 minutes' time or so. To Moncton now, where an anti-crime coalition says it's picking up momentum and support since it started up about a month ago. CTV's Derek Haggett spoke with a number of frustrated downtown business owners who want to see action on the issue.
It's come to this for the co-owner of a downtown real estate company.
We had to help them with bear mace. We had to buy small baseball bats in case something would happen.
Staff have dealt with theft, vandalism, violence, and break-ins over the past few years. In 2023, the company spent over $60,000 on overnight security, building modifications, and safety measures.
It cannot get worse. But had I known of the measures I would need to take to run my operation here in downtown Moncton before I purchased the property, I would have considered different options for sure.
It's my house, I can do that.
This property owner had a rental space broken into early Monday morning. Repairs at the older, unique home, over $2,000.
We need to press charges. When criminal activities are happening and we're not pressing charges, the system can't do its job.
Both Phillips and Nadeau are strong supporters of the Enough is Enough coalition. The group of Moncton business owners have received well over 3,000 signatures this month on an online petition demanding government and police action.
We just want to have a focus on crime. For whatever reason, in the last few years, crime has risen exponentially.
As far as Phillips and Nadeau are concerned, they've had enough.
We're losing our downtown, but it's not because we don't care. It's because we're not letting the system work.
This investment is, in my opinion, no longer an asset, but more of a liability.
The superintendent of the Kodiak Regional RCMP tells me they are aware of the Enough is Enough coalition, but no one from the group has contacted police as of yet. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
Municipal officials in Nova Scotia say they've just about had enough. They say online threats and harassment have become commonplace, and they didn't sign up for it. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
It's a disturbing trend that's hitting closer to home. Local councillors and mayors in Nova Scotia facing increased online abuse and even physical threats.
But in the last few years especially, that has tipped to more and more where it's threats of violence, threats of sexual violence against the female elected officials, death threats. The frequency is increasing.
Mayor David Mitchell is the incoming president of the Federation of Nova Scotia Municipalities and says the level of hostility toward elected officials has reached a breaking point, most of it happening online and often having nothing to do with local decision making.
Well, we all get frustrated and there's a way to respond through that frustration, but that response is often disproportionate to the issue that's happened.
Registered psychologist Dr. Simon Sherry says online anonymity and political polarization is fueling the wave of hostility that we wouldn't see if people were debating face to face.
So this political polarization, that's very much on the rise. fuels a lot of hostility, maybe especially when it's occurring in the context of anonymity.
There are some hot-button issues being looked at by government, like the lack of housing, to affordability issues, and bike lanes that are firing people up.
And even if it's not entirely justified, when people start to feel resources are scarce and crowding is occurring, they can be hostile and aggressive.
But there's a fine line where freedom of speech crosses into criminal behavior, and trolling speaks to deeper personality disorders.
And research will consistently show that if you are narcissistic, psychopathic, sadistic, or Machiavellian in terms of your personality makeup, you're much more likely to be an internet troll.
The Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities says enough is enough, urging any elected officials receiving threats to contact police. The issue will be front and center when municipal leaders meet here in Halifax next week. Jesse Thomas, CTV News, Halifax.
Former St. John Mayor Ivan Court has died. In a statement released last night, the city notes Court was a lifelong St. Johner and public servant and a teacher at St. John High School. He served 14 years on Common Council, including 4 years as mayor from 2008 to 2012. Flags on municipal buildings have been ordered to half-mast in his honor. As you may have heard earlier today, the Bank of Canada lowered its interest rates for a second consecutive time, but also signaled it may be the last cut for a while. CTV's Nick Moore has reaction this evening.
The Bank of Canada cut its interest rate today by 25 basis points to 2.25%.
You know, anything in the 2s or 3s, that's a great interest rate.
Suzanne Gravel is president of the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors and says her hope is that the rate cut will encourage weary home buyers to make a move.
Sellers are really hoping, because it seems to be an interesting market right now where sellers seem to be sitting on the market a little longer than normal.
This was our second straight cut.
Bank of Canada Governor Tiff Macklem gave notice today that there may be no more cuts for the time being.
The current policy rate is about right to support the economy and maintain low inflation.
We're not 100% sure if they've got much more to give. But right now, like if you've got a mortgage coming up in the next 4 to 6 months, I'd start to have conversations with your friendly institutions about doing the 120-day rate guarantee.
John Mazie is a financial planner based in Moncton and says there may be no better time than now to try and get ahead.
Keep your payments the same and pay down some debt so that somewhere down the road when it does come back up, you've made a bit of inroads on that debt. There's a lot of uncertainty. It all depends on what's going to be tweeted out at 3 a.m.
Anything, like I said, in the 2 or 3 rate, they're not going to come much lower. It's not going to get much better than this.
Tiff Macklem says the bank's expectation for the rest of 2025 is for what he called very modest growth, with perhaps some pickup in the new year. Nick Moore, CTV News, Fredericton.
With tourism season all but over in our region, a lot of operators are now releasing statistics on what kind of year it turned out to be. Sunny weather and a focus on supporting locals seem to be some of the reasons behind a tourism uptick, with the final big day of the season happening today in St. John. CTV's Avery McCrae tells us why.
It's the final triple cruise ship day of the season in St. John. For walking tour operator Peter Ferguson, it makes for one last busy day of the year.
It's been my busiest year. I've been doing it 4 seasons. This is certainly the busiest one by far. Starting right back in last April, right through the whole season, a record year for tourism, I'm sure, for St. John.
It was a big year for tourism across New Brunswick. According to the Department of Tourism, Heritage and Culture, attraction visits were up 20% compared to last year, and park visitations rose over 10%. By the end of August, tourists had spent $1.8 billion in New Brunswick, a 7% spike compared to 2024.
July 1st is like the mega day in St. Andrews, but there was multiple weekends where businesses were saying that they felt just as busy as Canada Day.
With the season all but over, the tourist town of St. Andrews on the province's southern shore has become quiet, as has one of its main attractions, the Kingsbrae Garden.
We were actually up over 20% over last year, which was a record year at Kingsbrae. We had almost 40,000 people, and that does not include people that eat in the restaurant and members. When you add that number together, it's almost double.
Canadians electing to travel within the country amid a trade war is a big reason for the tourism tick-up. A week straight of triple ship days in St. John also helped. By the end of next week, 83 vessels will have docked here, marking a port record.
Cruise tourism is really more than an uptown St. John success story. It's really a southern New Brunswick success story. There's whale watching tours happening down in St. Andrews. Folks are going up to the Hopewell Rocks and everywhere in between. So it's equating to over $85 million in economic impact for our region.
Even on a cold October day, first-time visitors to Canada are thinking about their next visit.
Maybe November, December or something like that when it's colder. No, that was a joke. No, yeah, I'd love to see more of Canada.
Tomorrow, New Brunswick Tourism Minister Isabelle Thériault is expected to unveil a new tourism strategy for the province, one that will look to build off a big summer. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
2 Canadian naval ships are back home in Halifax tonight after a 3-month mission to the Baltic Sea. Plenty of signs and flags as families welcomed HMCS Edmonton and Yellowknife back to port today, I should say. The 2 maritime coastal defense vessels, part of NATO's initiative to identify and dispose of sea mines, some of which could date back to the First and Second World Wars.
Made a lot of good friends along the way, made a lot of good memories. We traveled a ton. I got to see a lot of places that I never thought I would get to see. So it's been a really fun time, yeah.
This particular mission was a good chance for us to work with those other countries, keep up the interoperability, and just be a good presence in the region as we want to be.
Close to 100 sailors taking part in this. This is the 4th time coastal defense vessels participated in mine countermeasures under the NATO flag. Still to come tonight, cloudier and a chilly evening for the Maritimes. Kalen will be back with his full forecast. Coming up next, though, we're off to L.A. ahead of the tonight's Jays game. A decisive win last night. Can they keep the momentum going? We'll look for answers when we come back. Well, Game 4 of the World Series last night brought a sense of relief to our whole country. The Toronto Blue Jays showed some real grit, scoring an impressive win over the LA Dodgers after losing that marathon 18-inning Game 3. Joining us tonight again from Los Angeles, we're pleased to welcome CTV's Raheem Ladani. Thanks for talking to us, Raheem.
Hey, Bruce, my pleasure.
So this changes the face of the series. What's the reaction been from what you're seeing?
Hey, Bruce, absolutely. I mean, let's make no two ways about it. Yesterday was a statement game by the Toronto Blue Jays, and an exclamation point was put on by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. All throughout the series, the focus has really been about Shohei Ohtani, but yesterday what we saw was a bit of more spotlight on Vladdy, no doubt about that. We're seeing in these last few games Vladimir Guerrero Jr. really willing the Toronto Blue Jays closer to a World Series championship. There was no George Springer yesterday. Vladdy moved up in the lineup. That was unusual, but he didn't let that affect him. You mentioned the 18-inning marathon. There was every reason for the Toronto Blue Jays to show up last night and play a little sluggish, a little lethargic, but instead they used all of that external noise and flipped the script against the LA Dodgers. That home run against Shohei Ohtani in the 3rd inning, it was huge. Here in Dodger Stadium, the home crowd, they went silent. In fact, at certain points during the game, you could hear "Go Jays, Go" chants inside the stadium. And you know the Dodgers faithful, they weren't enjoying that. And as the game continued, the Jays, they found a rhythm and they were able to hang on. And now this series is a completely brand new best-of-3 series, Bruce.
Safe to say that this is the first real test for the Dodgers in the playoffs?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, coming into the World Series, a lot of people were saying Dodgers sweep, maybe a gentleman sweep, Dodgers in 5, and they were saying this is a David versus Goliath kind of scenario. The whole tone has shifted no matter who you talk to here in LA. Now they're saying, oh, this is Goliath versus Goliath, right? And so there's a new sense of thinking here, knowing that the Blue Jays aren't going to be going away quietly, especially when, as I mentioned earlier, they had every reason to. Now the focus, and I guess some of the pressure even, shifts to the LA Dodgers. How did they they respond to this, because they don't want to go down 3-2 in the series, knowing that the series then shifts to Toronto, and that would give Toronto 2 chances to win the World Series championship on their home ground, right? And so this is a very important game for them. As for the Toronto Blue Jays, it's not that you have cushion, but your backs are a little less up against the wall. You know that even if you do go down, you've been in that territory before in the ALCS. They were down 3-2 when they head back to Toronto against the Seattle Mariners, and we saw what they did. But what they did last night is earn themselves an opportunity to get some cushion room if they play well tonight. And a lot of it's going to depend on Trey Savage, as he's the one who steps on the mound tonight.
For sure. Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Raheem, thanks so much for speaking with us.
My pleasure.
Raheem Ladani reporting from Los Angeles tonight. Lots more to come. Stay with us. Live look at downtown Antigonish, where it is currently, you're a little closer, 6 degrees? 8 degrees.
8 degrees.
8 degrees,
Yeah.
6:31 on this Wednesday evening. Nice and dry in Antigonish right now, but apparently Friday, Halloween night, might look a little different around there and elsewhere.
Yes, across the entirety of the Maritimes. I mean, we were waiting, what, months and months and months and months for rain, and then right on cue for maritime weather, it all shows up on Halloween.
We've got it, yeah.
Yeah, and there is going to be a contribution to the rain from what's left of this weather system.
Which, yeah, okay, this is quite interesting, actually.
Yeah, so this is Hurricane Melissa. It's now down to a Category 1 hurricane. As you can see, Bruce, it's basically making its way through the central Bahamas, and the parts of the Bahamas are underneath hurricane warnings. There could still be some hurricane force winds and impacts from heavy rain and storm surge. Now, it has picked up speed. It's now moving up towards the northeast at 26 kilometers per hour, and on that track, it's going to be passing by Bermuda late on Thursday. Bermuda is underneath a hurricane warning as well. Could be a Category 1 or Category 2 as it passes by Bermuda, but they could still catch some of the wind and the rain. And then it ends up towards the Grand Banks at the end of this week. The track, though, has been coming just a little bit further towards the west each day, and now a little bit closer to the Avalon Peninsula in Newfoundland. Now, it's still to the east of the Maritime region, so still looking offshore for us, but close enough that some of the moisture is going to get tied up into the low pressure system, that weather front moving through, and it increases chances of us on Friday of not only seeing rain, but periods of heavy rain and downpours within it. So rainfall outlook across the region for Friday into Saturday right now shows fairly widespread rainfall amounts in the Maritimes between around 20 and 40 millimeters, with some pockets or some areas that could be as high as 40 to 80 millimeters of rain. Areas that could see some of those higher totals include in around the Bay of Fundy coastline in New Brunswick, parts of the Atlantic coastline of Nova Scotia, and also a higher chance of seeing some downpours right up around the northeast of New Brunswick, Miramichi, Bathurst, and the Acadian Peninsula. And it's for those higher rainfall totals and the accompanying gusty winds on Friday that we have those special weather statements in effect by Environment Canada. Taking a look at our timeline for tonight, it's going to be cloudy periods around the region, as we just saw from the temperature at Antigonish. It is going to be a cool night and quite a cool start to the day on Thursday. Thursday afternoon, a mix of sun and cloud around the Maritimes, so the sun breaking through a little bit more around Moncton, the southeast, Prince Edward Island, northern and eastern areas of Nova Scotia, and then cloudier into northern and western areas of New Brunswick and western areas of Nova Scotia. The low temperatures in the forecast for tonight, mostly falling into a range around the mid to high single digits, except up in the north and northwest of New Brunswick, where some of the lows will fall into a range around -2 to +2. And high temperatures tomorrow in the north of New Brunswick between 9 and 13 degrees. With that mix of sun and cloud, and down through central and southern areas of New Brunswick, the high temperatures between 11 and 15. And tomorrow, sun in the afternoon shines through a little bit more around Moncton, the southeast. Prince Edward Island with high temperatures of 12 to 14 degrees, with a mix of sun and cloud, light southeast winds. Cape Breton with high temperatures around 12 to 14 as well, mid-teens around the north shore of Nova Scotia, and then on the eastern shore between 12 and 14. Amherst for tomorrow, the high near 14 degrees, 15 for Truro, and 14 degrees for the city centers Halifax and Dartmouth, Chester, Lunenburg, and then carrying down the south shore, Liverpool and Shelburne, also near 14. 15 for Yarmouth for tomorrow, and for the Annapolis Valley, except 14 degrees at Digby. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick, so rainy and windy conditions still for Friday, and then following in behind that on Saturday, Saturday, it's cloudy periods, it's chilly, and there is still going to be some gusty winds around. Still cool on Sunday with a mix of sun and cloud. And that mix of sun and cloud for the start of next week. Chance of showers on Tuesday and on Wednesday of next week. And we're into November, of course, at that point in time, a mix of sun and cloud. For Nova Scotia, the outlook, rainy and windy weather in the forecast for Friday. High temperatures close to the mid-teens. Then high temperatures, high single digits or near 10 degrees on Saturday. Chilly, and there's going to be some gusty wind. On Sunday, it's a mix of sun and cloud in the forecast. The wind diminishes a bit. And on Monday, high temperatures will be in the high single digits, low teens. A chance of showers on Tuesday, Wednesday after that with a mix of sun and cloud. And for Prince Edward Island, wet, windy for Halloween this year on Friday. Still chilly, still gusty winds in the forecast for Saturday. Sunday, a mix of sun and cloud as the clocks go back, and then a mix of sun and cloud to start next week. That's followed by a chance of showers on Tuesday and a mix of sun and cloud with highs near 8 degrees on Wednesday. Bruce.
Okay, thanks, sir. Wake-up weather still to come this evening. A little later as well, Katie Kelly will join us for the scene. But next, we'll chat with Nick Nanos about the current political mood in this country. That's next. Stay with us.
Okay, so we're back at it tomorrow. Virgin Radio's 5K a day for each chance winner, $5,000 that we give away daily.
Get your keywords starting with us at 7 a.m.
And around 7:30, get a shot at a $100 gas card. Good luck.
So we're told the Prime Minister shared a cordial nod and smile with U.S. President Donald Trump across the dinner table in Asia. There was no direct discussions between the men and none planned since Trump ended our tariff talks, apparently offended by that Ronald Reagan ad paid for by the government of Ontario. Here to talk about that and a whole lot more, we're pleased to welcome CTV pollster Nick Nanos from Nanos Research, joining us tonight from Calgary, Alberta. Thanks for making a little time for us tonight, Nick.
Great to join you and all your viewers.
So we're seeing the opinion writers and all the pundits now suggesting that it's time Prime Minister Carney just level up with Canadians about where things stand with the United States. What are you sensing is the national sentiment here?
Well, it's interesting that, when we ask Canadians about the economy, they're quite pessimistic. They're worried about the future, and actually they think that the economy will get weaker in the next 6 months. But when we look at the ballot question, it's basically a dead heat, a statistical tie between the Liberals and the Conservatives. So much for a Mark Carney honeymoon. Right now, there are almost just as many people that are looking to vote Liberal as they are looking to vote Conservative.
How do Canadians generally feel about the strategy the Carney government has been taking with the Americans so far?
Well, they're a bit impatient. In research that we've done, what it suggests is that Canadians want to see some sort of action or progress sometime before the end of 2025. And I think that's why there's so much pressure on the Carney government now. He created very high hopes during the last federal election that he would be able to move things forward on the trade front, but it's been stop and go for the Liberals since the federal election.
I have to ask you about that Reagan ad that I mentioned off the top there. We know Republicans and MAGA hate that ad. What did Canadians think about it?
Well, I think Canadians are in favor of anything that they think helps the file with the free trade agreement with the United States. And the fact of the matter is that this ad was from Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario. Not a big surprise, just because he's been under a lot of pressure because of closures and stress in the automotive sector.
Right.
And I think it's his attempt to be proactive when it comes to the trade file with this ad that is targeting Republicans in the United States.
And they are Reagan's own words, which is perhaps more powerful than anything.
Yeah, I think so. But we have to remember there aren't as many Reagan Republicans in the current formation of the Republican Party as there are MAGA individuals, right? And you have to think, the religious right is still a key factor. The Tea Party is still a factor. The Republican Party is like four parties, with the Reagan Republicans being more like the resistance within the Republican Party than a major part.
Good point. So Mr. Carney will be back in this country just ahead of his first budget. It's safe to say that the future of his young government is sort of riding on this spending plan?
Well, from a parliamentary perspective, absolutely, because he does not have a majority in the House of Commons. He's short about 3 votes or thereabouts. The reality is that he's going to need the support of individuals outside of the Liberal Party, or someone's going to need to catch a very convenient and strategic cold or fever to not show up to vote in the House of Commons. So this is his real first big test. Canadians are going to see what's in this in terms of a vision for the future when it comes to jobs and the economy, and they're going to want to know what the plan is for Canada to increase its economic resilience.
Would you expect the opposition to actually spark an election, though? Like, is there any appetite for that at all?
Well, I think the only way that it could happen if there was some sort of Keystone Cops moment from one of the opposition parties. I think the fact of the matter is Pierre Poilievre, although the party is very close, the Conservative Party is tied with the Liberal Party when it comes to ballot support, Pierre Poilievre personally significantly trails Mark Carney when we ask Canadians who they would prefer as Prime Minister. He's basically about 20 percentage points behind Mark Carney.
So he's kind of a disadvantage to his own party at this point.
Yeah, you know, the ironic twist is that right now, people might not like the Liberals or be happy about the last 10 years, but they seem to like Mark Carney. And then there are other people that might not be hot on Pierre Poilievre, but they like the Conservatives, and they believe that it's still time for a change.
Interesting. Nick, always great to talk to you. Thanks so much for speaking with us tonight.
Take it easy.
You too, Nick Nanos from Nanos Research, joining us this evening from Calgary, Alberta. More to come. Stay with us. On the scene now with Katie, and a Canadian music icon, you're telling me, is hitting the road again. Alan Doyle.
Yes, our buddy Alan. He's bringing some East Coast friends along with him, too.
I spent the whole night waiting for the night, honored of the devil in the middle of the deep dark sea.
Beloved Newfoundland singer and Great Big Sea frontman Alan Doyle has announced his Already Dancing tour. The tour kicks off February 28th in St. John's and includes 7 Atlantic Canadian shows with multiple nights in Halifax, plus stops in Moncton and St. John. The Juno-winning PEI duo, the East Pointers, will join Doyle as special guests. And there's new music on the way. Doyle's upcoming EP called, oh, you guessed it, Already Dancing, arrives in February of 2026. Tickets for this tour are on sale now.
And they will go quickly, especially around here. He's a favorite.
They definitely will.
So a Juno award-winning singer-songwriter heading back to the Maritimes next spring as well.
Yes, William Prince returns in 2026, touring his album Further from the Country.
Knock 'em dead when you finally get to the city.
The acclaimed Manitoba artist will perform 4 maritime dates, including Halifax, Fredericton, St. John, and Moncton, March 12th to 15th. Special guest on this tour is Boy Golden, and tickets for this one are on sale now, too.
And the man behind the viral hit United Breaks Guitars, that was so huge there a few years ago, is taking on another airline.
Yes, Bruce. So Halifax musician Dave Carroll is back with a new protest anthem. Don't Fly, Business Class is the name.
Do what you promise, is that a lot to ask? 'Cause everyone regrets flying business class.
This one tells the story of a young man from Central Asia who says he was denied boarding by European airline Wizz Air along with other passengers from his country. Carroll says the song shines a light on discrimination and corporate accountability, much like his 2009 viral hit, United Breaks Guitars.
Yeah.
The video premiered online this week and is racking up thousands of views, as you can imagine. You can find the video on YouTube. It's also on his social media accounts. But yeah, stirring up a lot of chatter, as Dave Carroll likes to do.
And, you know, it's funny because he's such a talented guy, such a nice guy, but he's become this airline advocate, airline passenger advocate. So good for him.
Yeah.
In keeping with meaningful music.
Yes, Bruce. So Jen Grant is paying tribute to her late mother in a deeply personal new song.
It was a make-believe funeral. You're in your Jim Carrey
Jen Grant has released Jim Cuddy Dress. It's a poignant new single honoring her mother. The song tells the story of a special day at the Junos in 2012 when her mom met Blue Rodeo's Jim Cuddy wearing a dress they chose together as she battled cancer. Grant says her mother asked to be laid to rest in that dress, making this new single a beautiful musical tribute to her life and legacy. Jim Cuddy Dress is out now and will appear on Grant's upcoming album, Queen of the Straight, which will be out early next year.
That's a nice tribute.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, great story there. Yeah. Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome, Bruce.
Here's a look at the primetime lineup for tonight.
With Aaron and Peter.
Halloween candy, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Join us for that tomorrow at 7.
Also, we've kicked off Move 100's Move It or Lose It. Qualify for a $10,000 shopping spree tomorrow at 6.
On the markets today, the Dow ended the day down 74 points, and tech giant NVIDIA became the first company to be valued at more than $5 trillion American dollars. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has more.
Only 4 months ago, NVIDIA became the first company to be valued at $4 trillion U.S. Today, it blew past that. NVIDIA shares climbed to a high of $207 U.S. today. The company CEO, Jensen Huang, announced this week a plan to build 7 supercomputers for the American government. NVIDIA is the leader in the production of computer chips that power artificial intelligence. Its exponential growth comes despite U.S. export limits on what it can sell to China. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 71.69. West Texas Intermediate crude is slightly up to 60.48. Western Canadian Select down over $1 to 47.56. And the TSX lost 274 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Thank you, Morella. Now we'll head outside to Kaylin on the weather deck for a look at tomorrow's wake up.
Yeah, thank you, Bruce. Cool and a little bit breezy out here on the deck for this evening. Let's take a look at a viewer picture for tonight. And this is coming in from last evening. It's a very nice shot of the sunset. Beautiful colors there down near the horizon underneath that deck of cloud cover. Was sent in from Nancy Creamer. I want to thank Nancy very much for taking the time to share this picture with us. And it was taken at Quispamsis, New Brunswick. Actually, I think it was taken at Rothsay, but Nancy's from Quispamsis. Quispamsis for tomorrow is looking at pretty cloudy conditions, so the sun may occasionally break through. High temperature near 14 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow, start of the day around the Maritimes. A lot of cloud cover around. Morning temperatures chilly to cool. Most areas will be starting the day with temperatures around the mid to high single digits. A little bit colder than that, though, up around the northwest of New Brunswick. And for Thursday afternoon, it's a mix of sun and cloud around the Maritimes. The sun most likely to break through around the southeast New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and northern and eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Cloudiest towards the southwest New Brunswick and western areas of Nova Scotia. The high temperatures tomorrow for the Maritimes, low teens, so it's about 10 to 14 degrees. Very seasonable for this time of the year. Winds becoming southeast, but like today, they're expected to be on the lighter side. And then, of course, Bruce, we have the rain and the wind arriving Friday for Halloween.
Just in time for Halloween, yeah. All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Finally tonight, a new museum exhibit that allows you to experience the odor of love, the stench of medieval Paris, or the sacred fragrance of religion, all through smells. Yeah, a new exhibition in Germany allows visitors to discover the unknown worlds of smells by sniffing their way through 81 different fragrances across 37 different galleries. The show is called The Secret Power of Scents. It opened to the public in Dusseldorf today. It combines fragrances with art, taking visitors on a journey of more than 1,000 years of cultural history. The various galleries are equipped with atomizers and diffusers to create a connection between art and the smell of a specific time period or cultural context. That is the program for this Wednesday night. The rebroadcast begins in just a moment over on CTV2 and, of course, CTVNewsAtlantic.ca updates right around the clock. I'm Bruce Frisco in for Todd Battis tonight. I will be back with your next newscast at 11:30 this evening. Thank you for watching this one. Have a good evening. Hope to see you soon.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.